Welcome back, fight fans, to the Shadow Fight Podcast. How are you doing today? It is, I don't even know the day, Friday, January 12th here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I don't know where you're at right now. I'm certain if you're listening to this anywhere in Canada, you are absolutely freezing your ass off. I'm in Calgary, and it is minus 36 right before I entered the room here. That is Celsius for all our worldly friends out there who use Fahrenheit, and it is unbelievably freezing cold out. But lucky for me, I got a podcast studio in-house, so here we are. First of all, Happy New Year, guys. I hope everybody had a good Christmas, holiday season, all that good stuff. Back to the grind. You know, you got to shut your brain off for a little bit, hang out with family, all that good stuff, set your goals for the new year, 2024. And now we're back to the grind and trying to achieve them. Speaking of which, what are your goals, 2024? What do you guys got going on? Let me tell you mine. I wrote it down for enough because I always write down the intros. But mine, now, we just had a gym expansion at Arashido Martial Arts, Deerfoot North here in Calgary. That would be my gym. And I want to see it grow. We built it. I gave up my entire, I didn't give it up, obviously, but my whole last summer, every day was for the gym, building the gym. And I want the fruits of those labor to come to fruition. We rearranged some classes, and we got more mat space for all of our programs. So I want to really see that take off. I would like to reach out a little more with the podcast. As you can see, starting to figure out the Zoom thing. I could probably get a better camera, but who cares? The podcasts are going. We can always improve. Let's just get it out there, right? So I'd like to reach out a little more. I'd like to travel a little bit more with the podcast if I can. And you know, just keep those podcast fingers reaching out a little bit further where we can. I'm thinking about changing the setup here. For those who are watching here on YouTube, I don't even know. I like the idea of the background, but like I'm using I don't even know, man. Like, let's be real here. A third of this room, and it's at a weird angle, so I don't feel like I'm head on and hiding my face on the microphone. For those who are just watching and not listening, if you go to the Liam Harrison podcast, that would be podcast 100. You guys still love that one. Hey, me too. If you watch podcast 100 with Liam Harrison, yeah, I know, as you should. I like that setup, and that was in his hotel, like in a little corner around the corner from a lobby. Like, it was kind of like hidden, but it was awesome. I like the setup. I like how it looked, and I like the corner shot. I like that there was 2 different wallpapers. So I'm thinking about doing that instead with my little room here. So we'll see. But I like how that looked, and I like the idea of the background and stuff. But I gotta tell you, like, for me to get in this position and get it like nothing in here is uniform. It's not comfortable at all. Like, I'm literally using just what you can see in this whole room, and that's it. So I think I'm gonna change that. And you know, I think 2024 is the year that I'd like to see the Shoutout podcast become a sponsored podcast. Not as in I give out money to you. Listen, I'm happy to when I can, but the reality is I think it's time. It's time, right? We'd love to see some momentum behind the podcast. And again, if the more sponsorship that we get, I mean, I'd love to fighters and travel and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's going to be a goal for 2024 is I'd like to see the podcast, the Shoutout podcast, get some sponsorship funding. I don't even know how to do that, but we'll make it happen. That's just what you do, right? Make it happen. Guess what, guys? Today's the day. Today is the day for the Viewers of Violence Choice Awards. Man. We've been waiting a long time for this. The votes are in. They've been tallied. They've been verified. They've been double, triple checked. And we got the results. But before we get there, if you could do me a favor, if you like the Shoutout podcast, really easy. You could, and you want to help me out, man. How could I help this grow? How could I make this expand? Well, you could sponsor the Shoutout podcast if you'd like. But beyond that, it's free and it's easy. All you got to do, take a finger, hit the like button on all your social medias, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. You could take it one step further, and you could share the podcast with a friend, family, or foe. And again, if you share it with a foe, maybe they turn into a friend and then turn into family. Who knows? But it all starts with sharing the mighty Shout Out Fight podcast. And of course, you want to be a real one and go one step even farther. Only the real ones subscribe, in the words of my man B. Kong. So make sure that you subscribe to the Shout Out podcast. Again, just real quick, subscribe to all your good subscribey social media stuff. And that helps out the most, and I would really greatly appreciate that. Yeah, and of course, just one quick reminder, this is a 5-star podcast. We are a 5-star fight podcast. Anything less, and you're just having a grumpy day. And maybe today's not, I don't know, I was going to say, maybe today's not the day to give me a rating, because I was going to say, you just said, maybe you're having a grumpy day or a bad day. If you look outside, man, how could you give anybody 5 stars on a day like that? But instead, maybe you stay home, you stay warm, you got a couple hours to kill because of the Shout Out Fight podcast. Do me a favor, hit me with a 5 stars. That's well worth it. I'm going to take a small chunk of your day and make it that much better. Okay, guys. Events, a couple coming up. January 27th, Rise of the Warrior Fight Night in Brampton, Ontario. And it looks like Michael Fitzpatrick, the promoter there from Spartan Striking Academy, has really spruced it up and added some more 15 pieces of, more than his 5. Is it 5 or 15 pieces of flair? 5 pieces of flair? 15? Office space, for those who know what I'm talking about. Man, it's been a while. But anyway, regardless, what I'm trying to say is he's going above and beyond, and it looks great. And I can't wait. I get to commentate out there, and I'm really excited. And shout out to Lumpayu fighters Tyson and Kai, who have been on this podcast, by the way. Going out there, doing a little traveling, possibly, I think, for the first time fighting. And it's time, boys. Good luck. And good luck to Chris McMillan, my man. February 3rd, Real Deal Promotions in Edmonton. Boxing fights, professional Muay Thai, kickboxing, and 4-ounce gloves, I hear. So like one championship style. Anyway, Real Deal Promotions, February 3rd, and that is up in Edmonton. And again, we spoke to Jeet and Mahalia. When was that? Boxing Day. And so again, from Wolfhouse, go back and make sure you watch or listen to that podcast as well for a few details. February 17th, Mike Miles here in Calgary putting on a fight card, Muay Thai confrontation. And in the main event, yeah, he's got one of his guys, I think they're pretty big, to be honest, versus somebody from England, from Knowlesy Academy, home of Jonathan Haggerty, among others. And so, yeah, February 17th here in Calgary. All right. Fighty friends, it's been a while, guys. I'll try to get through this real quick. Kieran Keddle, as always. Nowadays, I talk most to him about fights. So shout out to you, Kieran. Eric Thenkichin from Silverback Martial Arts. Jason Davis right now, I think we're on his way back. It's on my phone, but Jason Davis just on his way back from Thailand, if not back already. And he's going to be fighting Deval Garvey for the 160-pound, I believe, WBC Canadian title at the next Muay Thai World Cup, April 20th. And we're going to be having a podcast with him. So I believe that will be his pro debut, and that will be a rematch as well. So I'm curious to see how both guys have improved since then. I've got to commentate both. I personally have seen the growth. So let's see how much they've grown and how much they can display that versus the first fight. So looking forward to that one. Anyway, Jake Peacock, as always, my man. MMA Journal Canada. Taylor, big fan of you, my man. Michael Fitzpatrick, Brad Wall from Progressive Fighting Academy, as well as Cody Jerome. Brett S. out there in Thailand, still kicking ass, as well as Braden Spartan. Hopefully to have him on the podcast fairly soon. Windsor Muay Thai, Within Range Photography. Sweaty Weddy, my homie. Dwayne W., Mike Doherty, Rudy, and Jason from Iron City. Again, thanks, guys, for talking with me, talking fights, opinions, all that good stuff with fights. Love it. Love it. What else is there to talk about, right? Politics? I want to give a couple of specific shout-outs. I want to give one to, and again, I'm not using last names. If you want me to, or you'd like me to, or you don't care, no problem. Just let me know. Jade H. I've thrown out a few photos lately. Nice photos, professional photos. Well, that's because I hired a professional photographer. And he did a phenomenal job on that night as well at the Muay Thai World Cup Road to One finals. Thanks for getting my good side, sir. I appreciate that. My homie from way back in the day, Gabor, giving me some wild game to eat. I really appreciate that. As I get older, I don't know if your taste buds get burnt off, but certainly have a tongue for wild meat. So thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it. My man Xander out in Uganda, He lives in rural Uganda, and really like when you think of a place like Uganda, at least where we're from, I know we kind of think like, oh man, that's like, we hear about that pretty very poor. Well, he lives in a part of Uganda, and you're right, but he lives in a part of Uganda that is poor. So like I have friends, like shout out to Phil and Duga from Calgary here. When I told him, he's from Uganda, when I told Phil where Xander's from, he was like, oh man, that's poor. Like, so not only, so you're from the poor part of Uganda, and he's doing what he can to keep up with the podcast, and I'm trying to teach him online Muay Thai, all that good stuff. It's really hard with a messed up knee, but in the meantime, man, big shout out, and I like what he's trying to get done over there in rural Uganda, man. That's awesome. I'm grateful that I got a friend like that. And a big shout out. I've given this guy many shout outs. Here's another one. Mike Bondi. Mike from Rashido Martial Arts. My instructor, my friend, business partner, all that good stuff. My knee is smashed. I know I keep talking about this, but every step I take has to be a conscious thought. And it's been that way since September 8th. And my gym has expanded, and it still has to be cleaned up, and there's still things happening. We did another expansion or office moving over the Christmas holidays, and it was Mike that did it all. So big shout out to you, Mike. Again, man, I can't thank you enough for what you do for the gym, for myself, for Rashido Martial Arts. It's endless, my friend. So obviously a super specific shout out to you. Here we are. Hold on, what do I got? The viewers of Violence Choice Awards. Okay, guys, we're going to start off with Fight of the Year. And by the way, these were all voted by you guys. So I was going to tally, like if somebody voted once for, I don't know, just pick a fight, who cares? I was going to tally that, but I don't got time. So, and there was a lot. So I picked the winners, maybe a couple honorable mentions where I could. And to be honest, I found this for myself as such a fight fan really hard. One championship. And by the way, Kieran Keddle makes a really good point in this podcast, who's the guest here today. I probably should have mentioned that. Where it's sort of like fighter of the year in one championship and fighter outside. And why is that? Well, there's fights more than once a week happening under the one championship banner, right? So I kind of get how you almost want to have two. Nothing like this has been done in Muay Thai. This is all new, and it's now 1 year this has been going on. So it almost makes sense to me that there should be sort of like a one championship division of its own, and then the rest. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's get to it. So, Fight of the Year. They called this the biggest fight in 50 years. I'm not buying that, but I get it. Huge fight. Super Lek versus Rod Tang. Yeah, you have to applaud that one. My goodness. Yes, that was a heck of a fight. So, like I just mentioned, they called it the biggest fight in 50 years. Like 50 years, that's a long time ago. There's no way. Not to mention, this got changed from a 5-round fight to a 3-round fight. Super Lek came in overweight. And, man, a lot of fan controversy on this one. We talked about it on the previous podcast regarding this fight. Super Lek came in overweight and, turned into a 3-round fight. It was a fun one. And a lot of people pick Rod Tang, and a lot of people pick Super Lek. And, I thought that added to the excitement of the fight. So not all the, he missed weight, and I know, and they're finally going to fight in 50 years. And then it was that razor close. And what if it was 5 rounds? The wrong guy won. And awesome. From my point of view, I remember saying Rod Tang won that fight, but I'm easily influenced by the commentating and the crowd and all that. And I want to be. That's what's fun about being a fight fan. I want to be part of the excitement. I like being in that. There's like nothing else in my life really, that I'm like that with. I want to be part of that. So, but I did rewatch that fight and turn the sound off and looked at it analytically. And yeah, Super Lek, man, what a great performance. Not to mention the knockdown, of course. So, yeah, that was a hell of a fight. Superlek, I recently did see that he wrote that because he came in overweight, he on purpose was like, well, I'm going to make this a really exciting fight. Like, I want to make up for that. So I'm sure the fans, myself included, are appreciative of that. And that was Rodtang's first loss in one championship and lost by split decision. So again, another sort of fun tidbit in that fight. I'd love to see a rematch. I'd also love to see a rematch with Haggerty and Superlek. And who knows, that might be around the corner. All right, let's move on. Fighter of the year. Couple honorable mentions here before we get to the big one. Sexan, honorable mention. Sexan. Now, what is he? 9-0, and we talked about it on the podcast. I think 9-0 in 2013 was it? Coming off quite a rough go for like the sort of 10, 12, or 9 to 12 fights before that. We've talked about it before. He might be my fighter of the year, man. But anyway, Chad Collins. Kieran Keddle brings him up outside of one championship. He just recently beat new Canadian Petch and took his long reigning title away from him. Had a fight in Japan, and again, like just knocking dudes out. He had another one in Australia, which was nomination for spinning back fist, like knockout of the year. Man, he's had a heck of a year, and only skyward right now still. So fighting Muay Thai, fighting kickboxing, I get that. Nico Carrillo, I could see how he could be in the discussion. Was relatively quiet, and then even after it was really his last two fights. I mean, Nongo, that's going to put you on the map doing what you did and having the fight he did. And then Muay Thai as well. I mean, it was a hell of a finish. Joe Ryan from the UK as well. Honorable mention, first ever Rajadamnern Stadium champion from the UK. Young guy, quick rise to the top. Well, not quick, but at least according to social media. And, Joe, Chris McMillan, when he was co-hosting way back in the day, said that Joe Ryan was sort of one of his up-and-comers to watch out for. And now look at him, yeah. Unbelievable. Your fighter of the year is Jonathan the General Haggerty. Yep, stand up. Yeah, it's not me, it's him, but yeah, stand up. Yep, very good. Thank you. You guys have chosen Jonathan Haggerty to be your fighter of the year. Totally makes sense. He knocks out Nongo in, devastating fashion, which I just did not think would happen. Just recently moving up into the weight class and having like 1 or 2 split decision wins there. So it was a bit of a rocky start in the weight class per se. And then, knocks out Nongo beautifully. That first knockdown just... From what we see, to be a fight fan and armchair quarterback, that first knockdown changed Nongo. He's not the same guy. You know what I mean? Is what it seems like. Or just that invincible armor is gone, is what it feels like. And, and then just a heck of a finish. So he becomes the Bantamweight World Muay Thai champion, one championship. And then he goes on to the other sport, kickboxing, and again, wins by knockout versus... Fabricio Andrade. So that was in November versus Fabricio Andrade, who's the MMA champ at that division. And so MMA Muay Thai met in the middle for a kickboxing fight, world title fight, and then he beat Nongo in April. No, I don't know. I know he won the kickboxing title. There's nobody else out there bantamweight. No offense to Andrade, but like I called the head kick too. I mean, it didn't completely put him out, but that's what's sort of the beginning of the end almost. But anyway, so you got your two sport world champion in one championship. Pretty hard to argue that he wouldn't be, except that he had only 2 fights. Like, so that's why I could see some people saying Sexan. I know he didn't, move up and take the title from, the big bad wolf and then do it in another, a different sport per se. But anyway, you voted, not me. And I don't know who my fighter of the year would actually be. It would be Sexan or Haggerty. I get it. Like, that's what he did. Just that knockout alone, like what he did to Nongo was unbelievable, right? Which brings us to our KO of the year, Jonathan Haggerty again. Oh my goodness. You guys have chosen once again Jonathan Haggerty. Oh my goodness, for your inaugural Viewers of Violence, Shuttle Podcast Viewers of Violence Choice Awards. This guy gets 2 awards. My goodness. I don't have anything for you, Mr. Haggerty. Sorry, no money. I'm not even going to make a poster online. I'm sorry, man. I'm busy. But congratulations. My goodness. Honorable mentions. And my fight of the year, my KO of the year, I'm sorry, which recently just happened, funny enough, was Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell in the UFC. Oh, dude. They kind of for those who didn't see, they danced around for about, it was like probably 2 minutes, maybe a little less, but it was around there. It was a long time. The crowd was, nothing really been thrown yet. The crowd was just starting to get a little surly that they wanted action. And then Josh Emmett launches like he's throwing a Hail Mary football, like just on the back foot, takes a running step and puts all his weight onto his lead leg. And Bryce Mitchell decides to try to meet him with his own overhand right, straight right per se, versus what's an overhand right coming in. And so Bryce Mitchell stands his ground and tries to turn into him. However, kind of was, when it's in slow motion, leading with his chest and face before his hand. And so not only does Josh Emmett get like a Hail Mary quarterback sort of running start from back foot momentum to lead foot momentum with an overhand right from like probably 6, 7, 8 feet away. But Bryce Mitchell helps him by stepping into his own punch that completely misses and offers up his face and gets crushed downward from the first shot of the fight from Josh Emmett. And he is stiff and he starts convulsing hard on the ground. Like, it's one of those knockouts. And there's only a few times, shout out to Tim Lowe, who I've had the same reaction where you immediately go from like, yeah, oh no, oh my God, that can't be good. That is not good. And then you're just like, oh God, I hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. And that was it. I mean, and he got up and you can hear Joe Rogan say, like, man, sit him down. Like he's going to hurt his knee because he was so wobbly. But the next day put out a video, thanks for not following up. I'm okay. And a hell of a knockout. And just the picture is legendary. Josh Emmett hits him and just stands over top of him. Rah! Just hulking out as the ref's pulling him away. What a photo. That was just so scary. That was my knockout of the year. You guys chose Haggerty, and Viewers of Violence Choice Awards, up to you. Superbon, another honorable mention for that high kick versus Typhon Oskin, which was so beautiful. Azrael Adesanya knocking out Pereira. Although it was big and monumental, it is my opinion what makes that big. And for a lot of people had that as fighter of the year. Obviously, I think that's the MMA sort of, knockout of the year. But was, okay, so I get it. So Izzy was down like 0-3 or something. They wanted a rematch, or I can't remember, something like that, right? Yeah. And once in kickboxing, once in MMA. He goes again, MMA, to try to get the title back. And I'm a dog, and he's wearing dog collars and stuff. I hate all that stuff. But anyway, it looked like a pretty monumental task that he was going to beat Pereira. So the knockout itself is a big deal. It took me a long time to get a big deal out of my mouth. But what I think more importantly is the celebration. I think the arrow thing and him just cold as ice trying to find Pereira's kid and offering him a dish of revenge, pretending he was knocked out. I think the celebration was more iconic than the knockout, is what makes that as big as it was. But it was still massive. I could totally see, but it's hard because you think, are we talking just the KO, or does the spectacle of the KO count? Because what Haggerty did at the time to somebody who seemed pretty unbeatable, it's clearly, when you look at it that way, the magnitude of the event, for sure, it's got to be Haggerty. I could see Adesanya as well, but when you look at just the knockout, I could see Josh Emmett in that case. I could see Superbon too, and Tank Davis. That was the other honorable mention versus Ryan Garcia. That beautiful body punch, man. That was something else. Okay, there you go. Your breakout fighter of the year. This is where we got the least votes. I don't know why I said most, the least votes. Most people weren't really sure. But it was Johan Young, 17-year-old Johan Ghazali. Yes. Nice. Congratulations, Jojo Ghazali. Hurry up. Okay. And don't get me wrong, he's being hyped up pretty good by one championship, so you can see why, why they chose him and why not. The kid's unbelievable. I mean, look what he did to, Mexican Muay Thai star. And before that, that's just his most recent fight. But that was, man, he tore him apart, Edgar Tabarez. Honorable mentions, Nico Carrillo. Now, he's not a breakout fighter. What are you talking about? I kind of get where people are coming from with that. And Kieran talks about this on the podcast. I'm hardcore, man. I like, to me, like, I could talk to anybody. I'm like, you don't know Saenchai? What the hell's wrong with you? Everybody knows Saenchai, right? Like, but the reality is that's just not true, right? I just live in that small little bubble that I just assume everybody does. So I could see why people would say Nico Carrillo, because he kind of came in with a little bit of hype. And then he had that banger with Furkan Karabag is his name. Knocked him out in a good fight and a good knockout. Overhand right, I think, if I remember correctly. And then he took a big step up versus Nong O, but, he's chiseled. He looks good. He talks the talk. He walks the walk. So you could tell there's a little bit of spotlight on him. And tore Muay Thai. It wasn't even close. And he's so big. And then right from that takes another giant step up and fights Nong O. And although round one, man, like, there's a video, if you haven't seen it, I knew I was going to become a crazy, silly sausage, but I deliberately taped myself because I was so into that fight that I tore my Roots hoodie off. Roots, let's talk business. But man, the end of round one, I really was like, dude, if there's 15, I'm just, at the time, I don't per se think that now, but if there's 15 seconds left, Nongo could have finished that fight. Who knows? It doesn't matter. And there wasn't 15 seconds left. And then round two, Carrillo just climbs all over Nongo and that beautiful elbow, man. Yeah, step in left elbow, and that was it for Nongo, and that was it for my hoodie. So anyway, I got that on there on the Shutout Podcast Instagram page if you want to see me be an idiot. I'm going to keep that hoodie. I want it back. I'm going to get it repaired. Anyway, I can see why people would say Nico Carrillo for the not as hardcore fans. For me, my breakout fighter was Alif Sordechapan. And funny enough, JP, the guy who coaches Nico Carrillo as well as Alif, that didn't come out right. The coach of Nico is also the same coach as Alif. Funny how that works, eh? That guy's got 2 breakout stars in 2023, according to honorable mentions. But your Shutout Podcast Viewers of Violence Choice Award Breakout Star of 2023, Johan Ghazali. Congratulations. Okay, guys, there you go. Fighter of the Year, Jonathan Haggerty, as voted by you. KO of the Year, Jonathan Haggerty, as voted by you. Fight of the Year, Rod Tang versus Super Lek, combined there, as voted by you. And Breakout Star, Johan Ghazali. Now, I was talked about maybe doing a Canadian version, but in my opinion, just go to the Muay Thai World Cup and check theirs out. They have their Knockout of the Year, Fighter of the Year, and those are Canada's best, really. So that's where you want to be looking. Okay, in this podcast, finally, here we go. Listen, guys, I know we're half an hour in. I'm sorry. If you don't like my voice or face or both or whatever, just move up to, I'm assuming it'll be about 33 minutes. In this podcast, Mr. Kieran Keddle. I appreciate him. He is the most winningest person coming on the podcast. I think this is his 5th appearance on the Shutout Podcast. And as far as I'm concerned, anytime, usually he messages me like, hey, we should do a podcast. Oh, he's got info. So, yep, I'm on my way. So we got to talk about the Muay Thai World Cup 10, which has recently been announced over Christmas time, over the new year. And, man, the 4-man one-night tournament that we talk about in this podcast as well, the winner going to their audition for one championship. You get a 1-fight deal, not the 6-fight $100,000 contract like the tournament. 4-man, one night, you win. You now get to do your one championship audition, and we talk about what the audition sort of means in this podcast. We also talk about the Muay Thai Champions League. That crazy news dropped on New Year's Day. And you saw it was Muay Thai League in Australia. It was Hitman Fight League in the UK. It was Warriors Cup in the US. Muay Thai World Cup in Canada. And the Muay Thai social media kind of grabbed that by storm and ran with it as well. Unfortunately, we didn't get as many details as we wanted. We were hoping, but hey, that's just how it works. And then I got to sort of, funny enough, go off topic a little bit and speak to Kieran about, we all want to see Haggerty versus Carrillo, and Carrillo's called him out and all that good stuff. But I said, if this fight doesn't happen in the UK, then One Championship drops the ball. Easy for me to say, I'm not a promoter. We get to hear what Kieran thinks about this fight and if it really makes sense to have it in UK. Really awesome discussion. I love this. This guy has so many layers. Like, I'm a fight fan. I talk to fighters. I do a podcast. I do my research. I talk about the fights that happen like everybody else. Sure, I have 30 years of martial arts Muay Thai experience, 25 Muay Thai, 30, whatever. So yeah, I suppose I've coached fighters. I had a couple fights myself 300 years ago. I have a gym. So yeah, I sort of get all my fingers in all the pies, except for the promotion part of fighting. So there's so many layers I don't think about. And so when I get to sit down with Kieran, I always am learning something about the business side of promoting. And this one's no different. This was a really cool discussion. All right, guys, I said it would be 2 minutes. We're 6 seconds away from that. Shout out podcast number 91 with the man, El Jefe himself, the boss, Muay Thai World Cup CEO, Kieran Keddle. Let's do it. All right. Welcome back, friends, to the Shout Out Fight Podcast. He's out of camera. You can't see him, but friend of the show, Sean Newberry. Good training session today, buddy. Good work. Here we are again. Kieran Keddle. I think this is what, number 5?
Probably, yeah. It's got to be.
Yeah, about that. Now, you announced some pretty big stuff.
Straight in.
A little while. Well, before we get there. But you certainly did. And but I actually wanted to start with some questions first.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're doing it in reverse now.
Yeah, let's do it right away. So, yeah, let's do it. Question number 1. Question from a listener. Do you know of any hair receding treatments?
Now, I can guess who this is because I absolutely, every time he steps on the scale, I whisper in his ear, how's your hair going? Just to see if he can get paranoid about it.
So you know it's a fighter.
It's 100% Jake Peacock has put that. And obviously I don't. You know, and I do even need a shave myself. But I recommend him to have a shave and let it go, Jake. Let it go. Okay, I've got a shoulder here if you need to cry on. You're married now, 2 kids. It doesn't matter no more.
You're a beautiful man, Jake. I didn't say it. You should grow like, remember Homer Simpson when he had that ointment on his hair?
Yeah, you should. For one championship special.
There you go, like a hippie. How long in, number 2, how long in advance, that's a good question. How long in advance or how many shows ahead do you plan in advance?
Well, I mean, so when we did the Road to One, so basically I did 3 shows of planning with the dates. But of course, my idea is when I've launched the show, so April 20th has come up, I've practically done 90 to 95% of the matchmaking. So now I'm thinking about November.
Okay.
So November now is, we've got 2 or 3 fights ready for that one. You see, that's how that will go. Even though there's a long gap between them, there are sort of more events popping up now, more opportunities for people. So I need to secure these guys in particular.
So on that topic, my own question then. So do you look for sort of key matchups at the time and then try to build around it?
Yeah, I mean, I also look at like previous events and say this guy was pretty good. He put a good performance in. Huh. I've got to look at all these parts to the game too, right?
Sure.
So and then future matches. Sometimes I'll see an amateur. He's doing pretty good. Maybe down the line, this could be a good fight. And then they have 2 wins under the belt. And I'm like, that's a match to make.
There you go.
Yeah. It doesn't always work out like that, of course, because they could go off and lose and, be injured.
But you got your eye on
available. Yeah.
Nice.
Always got the eyes on. And especially on the people who are new to the scene. And obviously we're going to Ontario this year. So I'm always looking at people from Ontario. And you can see in the 4-man, we brought Basil in, of course. But I basically chose Basil, even though I got recommended by various people. I saw him fight live, the one you commentated.
Yeah, that's right.
Really impressed with him in that 4-man tournament.
And hell of a fight in the final there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, brings a good crowd. He's entertaining.
Yeah.
He's polite.
There you go. What else could you ask for?
Yeah, so brilliant.
Nice. Is Michael Fitzpatrick your favorite?
No.
Okay. I tried, man. Number 4. When do we learn who fights who in the 4-man? On April 20th.
So
is it a one night, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Damn.
Well, it's a really good question because I've actually been going back and forward on it. Now, if you remember on our first ever show in 2019 when we had the 4-man Sutina Cup, which Cody went on to win, we actually decided the weigh-in.
Okay. Oh, right.
Remember.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm going to probably do that again.
Nice.
I think it's a fair way of doing it. Pick the name out of the hat, you know. And what we like to do is the away person. So we've got 2 people. So one from BC, obviously Tyler Nicholson, and Ontario would be Basil. They'll get to pick first. Hometown's different, you know.
Sure.
So they get the second choice, and they'll draw out who they're fighting in
Cool.
what corner.
Nice.
You know,
nice.
It's a difficult one for coaches, right? Because if you want to put together a strategy or a plan,
you can't really.
You can't.
Or you got to make 2.
Yeah, you're going to have to make... So you're basically going to have to get your fighter, get them into the best shape possible, get them as strong as possible, and work on their skills and their strengths, right?
Right.
But there isn't really a tactic to it. Because in some ways, it's like when you first fight. If you remember, like, you first fight, who am I fighting? Who am I fighting?
Right.
Hope I'm not fighting that guy. He's got huge legs.
Right,
You're
right.
not fighting him, didn't you? But you get the point. So the tactics will have to be made up the night before, right? They're going to have to go together. But those 4 guys are good level, right?
Yeah,
They're intelligent guys. They will know that training to get to a point is great, listening to the coaches, all those sort of things. They'll do everything right to get to that fight. So, of course, discussing with their coaches after the fight, they can make the changes pretty quickly.
Yeah. So,
well,
there you go.
Yeah.
Nice. And then again, depending on what ends up in the fight going into the finals, you know, are you banged up? Was it a quick KO?
Yeah.
Are you injured?
Yeah,
you know?
it's the typical thing of tournaments, which is a nightmare for promoters, nightmare for coaches sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the best excitement for a fan.
Sure.
It really is. I mean, the old K1 Max days, the old K1 days.
Heavyweight days, yeah.
I loved those 8-mans. I really did. And do you remember when Glory did a 16-man?
Yes.
That was ridiculous. What was it called? Like the Super Grand Prix or something?
I can't even remember.
I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
But it was insane and semi-shilt one, didn't it?
That's right, yeah.
And I think the first fight was 2 rounds of 2 minutes. And then the quarterfinals was 3 rounds of 2 minutes. Then it was semi 3-3 and then final.
That's right.
Yeah, if you remember.
That is, I do now.
It was crazy.
That was
crazy. It was on New Year's Eve or something. Both fighters walked out at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah, it was nuts, wasn't it?
That's madness.
Yeah.
You can't. So, and that was how many fights? 4, right?
That was 4 fights
4
then,
fights.
yeah.
My God. So we'll learn at the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a good way to do it. But that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. When will we see more Mexican fighters or any Mexican fighters on the Muay Thai World Cup?
I've been approached by a few, actually. And there are some good Mexicans. I've seen them start to come through.
Yeah.
You know, Eddie's brought some through.
Yeah,
he
sure
sponsored
has.
some.
Yeah.
WBC have got a good amateur team going to Thailand in a couple of weeks, the Amazing Muay Thai Festival.
Right.
So I think we'll see some developments from there. WBC North America, now the North American title.
Yep.
We're looking to get some more WBC North American titles on our events across Canada.
Nice.
So there will be opportunities for Mexicans coming from that.
Beauty.
Again, it's weird now because 10 years ago, no less, 5 years ago, like we would have Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, now actually there's a few coming through.
That's right.
Some of them are based in America, of course, but
yeah,
fantastic. I mean, they're obviously boxing's their #1 sport there.
Damn right. Yeah.
But we're starting to see, obviously MMA, but also starting to see some Muay Thai guys come through.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Nice. Well, there you go. 4 ounce gloves or 8/10 ounce gloves. What do you prefer?
Yeah.
What do you prefer? Okay, let me help. What do you prefer as a promoter? What do you prefer as a coach?
You know, it's sort of a double-edged sword because the truth is it depends who I'm training. Right?
Sure.
If I'm fighting a guy that's very, very skillful, like moves around, good with his legs, etc., you're going to have to change the tactics for it. So it's a much harder game to do because the little gloves do suit the puncher. There's no denying it, right?
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. You've got these tower tries and super legs that are extremely special. But in general, you're seeing the Thais starting to box a hell of a lot more than ever.
That's it. Yep.
So it's a totally different sport. I think the skill set for the bigger gloves is more. There's a more skill to it, more beauty to it, should we say?
That's a good way to put it.
The technical side.
Yeah.
With the MMA gloves, for entertainment purposes, with the 4-ounce gloves, you can't beat it.
Yeah, yeah.
Entertainment. And I luckily, we're doing a mix on our shows. Luckily, I can do the mix on the shows. Some
awesome.
Commissions won't allow that. But I think having the tournaments and the 4-ounce gloves and the special Road to One fights that we've been having, no one can deny that tournament was something special.
It was,
and the fights were ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know.
It's crazy.
Every division had probably a highlight reel.
Yep.
You know, of a fight. Every sort of suspense drama you could imagine.
Yep.
It wasn't planned, obviously.
Sure.
I was like, let's see what happens with this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, this is working. So from a promoter point of view, this new perspective of 4-ounce is, for entertainment, is the best. Now, yet there is a flip side to that. So with one championship now, is lots of fighters now aspiring to get into one championship, which is fantastic. From my point of view, being an ex-fighter, because if this opportunity was around 15, 20 years ago, I would have lapped it up, so it's fantastic.
Right.
What's happened is that there are fighters now avoiding certain fights because they don't want to lose. We don't want it to go down the MMA path.
Right.
Right? Because the MMA path is protect to get into UFC.
Yep.
Right? We don't want this to happen with Muay Thai. All right?
Call.
Once you're in one, you're entertaining, you get drawn back.
Yep.
There's no denying it. But before you get to one, there's some matches you're trying to make, and they are... I'm not too sure about that yet, right?
Right. Looking in the future a little too much.
Yeah,
maybe.
absolutely.
Yeah. I hear you. On that same note, there's a guy who's crushing it right now in the UFC. Very similar position. We want to stay active. Chris McMillan fought him, and we're right before the UFC. So let's take a kickboxing fight. You know, that'd be the better. No MMA fights. Well, Chris crushed him, so that was nice. I was happy about that. That happened, and now this guy's killing it in the UFC.
Was that the one in Vegas?
No, that was out in Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's that?
Kyle Nelson.
Okay, yeah, okay.
He's crushing it right now.
I didn't know. I didn't know that fought. That's great.
Yeah, Chris's pro debut. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. On that same subject, the 4-ounce or the 8-ounce, I'm hearing a lot of grumbling lately about the 4-ounce. It's not real Muay Thai, and I know everybody goes, it's not real gymnastics. It's not a real chalkboard. Like, I get it. You can say that about anything in the past, but let's say that's true. Yeah, okay. It's the game plan, the gamesmanship, the beauty of maybe Muay Thai has gone a little bit, but let's just say that. Let's just say it is. Do you see a scene where there's the 4-ounce scene and the not 4-ounce scene, or are we just going to end up phasing out the?
No, I don't think it will phase out.
Yeah, I guess on the big shows.
I think there's a development for it too, to wear the bigger gloves.
Yeah,
you know, before switching over. I still think you've still got the kickboxing side where people can go from Muay Thai to kickboxing.
Good call.
Good call. And with the bigger gloves too. And you're seeing now like a development of kickboxing. If you notice, Peter Arts now has got a tournament.
Yes.
Rise and Glory just recently got together to create a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So there is a rise in kickboxing for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's always going to be a call for it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just think I don't know if you've seen the changes last year. Even in Thailand, there was a little bit frowned upon by sports.
Sure was,
And Chatri went in there.
And stuck to his guns.
Yeah, and obviously got changed to modern Muay Thai, they call it now, right?
Global rules.
So, well, we got to just understand that everything evolves.
Yep.
Sometimes people don't like evolution. I understand that.
All people don't like change.
Yeah, no, I get that. You know, I absolutely get that. And some people say it's a little bit messy, and I get that too.
Yep.
Right? But then... Did you not see Tower Chai and Superbon? See how technical that was?
Yeah.
All right, so it can be done. But it's still new, yeah?
Yep.
It's still new, so people are still learning. Still
That's right.
distancing, the movement. So there's a place for both. There's certain fighters that can't do one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
There's some fighters can do both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think if you look at people like Rodtang, I think those little gloves suit him.
Definitely.
Right? But then Super Leg beat him using Muay Thai skills.
That's
Don't get me
right.
wrong, he stepped it up and was a little bit more brutal.
Well, and the hand trapping, right? You can use your thumbs. And,
it's great to see.
Yeah, agreed.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
good
so like,
call.
it's there's a place for both spots, right? That's what it is.
Yeah. Come on in. Don't worry about it. This is Canada's best and least professional podcast, so don't worry. We're allowed to not be professional. And you drop the word development a lot. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Develop. Yeah, good call. I know you already answered this on the old comment section, but in case those who didn't check out the Instagram, which everybody on the planet does, but here we go anyway. Why do you drink cheap American beer?
Yes, Francois. It's it's Coors Original, I'll have you know.
Okay.
And it's not cheap. It's not that craft shit, as I say.
Yeah.
No, actually, I haven't had a Coors for a while because it's winter now, so I'm on to Guinnesses. Okay?
Oh, well, look at you.
No.
Lumberjack jacket.
No. 4 days sober, I'll have you know.
Oh, yeah. I can see it.
Where's my coin?
There you go. You know, it's funny, when I read that comment, I kind of snickered and went, Coors. Yeah, it's funny. Did you like it?
I like Coors Original.
Yeah, Coors Original. Yeah.
I love it, yeah.
If you're going to drink Coors Light, might as well just drink pop
Yes.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
There's a rude joke about Coors and Coors Light, which I'm not going to put on this podcast because it's extremely rude.
Oh, okay. Can't wait for after the podcast.
Hey?
Can't wait for after the podcast.
No, yeah. And maybe I'll say it after the podcast. If you think it's good enough to put on the podcast, you can edit it in.
Deal.
Yeah?
Deal. I doubt it's not coming. It's not coming out.
It's extremely rude. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Hey, well, anyway.
That all the questions?
Questions.
Good.
Done. How was Christmas? How was New Year's?
Yeah, busy. You know, busy. Had family over as always. You
Nice.
know how it was. Visitors every all the time now.
Yeah, every few months.
Yeah, and so it's good. You know, showing them Canada, showing them around, showing them Alberta.
Nice. Yeah.
They came to the event. Two of my
yeah.
dear friends came to the event as well, and they loved it. They're starting to see all the things that I'm putting on social media. you know, in real life as such.
Right.
And they're seeing the beauty of Alberta, which sometimes is, like anything's took for granted, right?
It is.
We forget on our doorstep you've got unbelievable, beautiful places to go and visit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I remember seeing a commercial like maybe 20 years ago about like camping. Like we can do it in the... It was a commercial basically about how the Rockies was on like planet Earth. It's like a section on planet Earth, the Rocky Mountains. And I'm like, boring. Fast forward. And it was a commercial like, we forget that that's in our backyard. And I was like, man, you're right. And so
especially in this day and age, right?
That's it.
You know, and when I used to work in central London, I'd walk past Tower of London, Big Ben.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll be like, walk past it.
Right.
You know? But I'd see all these tourists outside taking photos, the history and things like that.
Yeah.
This is what you take for granted,
That's right. Yeah.
And then if you look now, like if you go to some of the buildings that are getting designed or being currently built now, you got to really appreciate the natural beauty of places like Alberta, right? You've seen that line in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
250 kilometers long.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard the walls either side are actually going to be like an LED screen TV. So it's going to keep changing. Have the news on it. Have mountain backdrops on it. Wet weather on it. You name it.
Yeah. We're in the Matrix.
It's insane.
That is wild, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Get your ass back out to the mountains. Forest. Yeah. Speaking of your last show, let's talk about that. How was it? How was it from your point of view? How did it go? All that good stuff.
You know, I think the three winners, when it's all said and done, deserved it.
Yep.
I think I'm really liking the fan base that's been created.
Good call. Man, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was insane in there. And don't get me wrong, like March and June were great, fantastic shows. But everybody really was thinking about who's going to be in the final.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of, like we talked about earlier, is preparing for shows, announcing show dates, because then people can book it in their calendars.
That's right.
And some people couldn't make the semi-final, sent me an email, but I won't miss the final.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, and the three guys, two guys, one girl, you know, they stood up and performed.
Yep.
And they put their everything on the line. And you could see what it meant to them.
Yeah.
You could see what it meant to them.
Yeah, that's
with
true.
the celebrations, you know, Cody Jerome's pretty much a poker face.
Yeah.
But he had a smile this big.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And he got up, he was pumping his chest and that. And you don't often see that with him, do you?
That's right. Yeah.
So he's a pretty cool character. So, yeah, you could see what it meant.
Yeah.
And it was life-changing, like we said. So,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so this year's going to be big for those three.
Yeah.
So we're just still waiting for the call from one to see what happens next with them.
Cool. Nice.
So as you can see, they just announced 2 shows in US.
Yep. Yep.
They're going to Japan next week.
That's right. Yeah.
Obviously, they'll still be doing Singapore and obviously the weekly shows at Lumpini.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've got a crazy year. So I think we're going to see a lot of the... I think we'll actually see a couple of the Canadians, if it goes well. I think we'll see them in Colorado. That's what I'd like
Makes
to
sense.
see. Which is September, so hopefully they get a fight. Well, they will do. They'll get a fight before that. But
yeah.
It would make sense if they could get to the Colorado show.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, right on. You know, it's funny about that the finals as well. So my first time hopping up and being in the ring, talking to anybody like a post-interview was Duvall.
Yep.
And I can tell you, like, I've done a few, 9 or 10 of these now, maybe 11, something like that. But I was standing in the ring with the microphone waiting for Duvall, and like, I remember just doing my thing, looking like, oh, look at those sort of blood, and looking at the logos. And then I just looked up, and from as far as I could see left to as far as I could see right was just hair and faces. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's all I could see.
Yeah.
I had a small moment of like, holy shit, like there's a lot of people in here.
Yeah.
And then Duvall, when I was talking to him, and I said, what's it like when you're seeing all these people? And he did the same, and he looked up and went, whoa, a little stage fright kind of thing. I thought he was just kind of being cute. And afterwards, he was like, oh no, man, I didn't really look up till that moment, didn't realize like everybody is looking at you.
It was nuts.
It was crazy.
It was nuts.
What
And
a
do you know
night.
what happened? And it's sort of like, sort of what I'm going to say next feels a little bit sort of small time, right? But I've always had people call me, message me, hey, I want to get in on the door. And I always say, get tickets on the door.
Right.
All different
Right.
types of things like that. But I've never had that many calls or texts, I can't get tickets on the door. And I've had to, by the arena told me, because I'm always a person, well, we can squeeze in another 50.
Right, right.
Like, you know, I'll never tell Tina that because she gets all,
Right.
health and safety, you know, with it. That's a joke, by the way. But I'll always be able to squeeze some. We couldn't squeeze in the end. And the arena came down, the guy, and sorry, the lady that run it, and she just said, we can't even get standing in, right? Because I was thinking we could get some standing in.
Right.
Like, I don't like people left out.
Right, right.
However, what it is, it's a good warning for people also, just to show you how much this is growing.
Yep.
Get your tickets
Stop
in advance.
waiting last
Stop leaving it last minute. I know, like other shows, you know, you can do that with other shows, but our marketing, even down to a poster designer is very particular, right? And the videos that we release, and we put a lot of money into the marketing. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like, for me, that was like a real good reward to actually tell people, listen, you've got to watch it on the pay-per-view. I'm sorry.
I genuinely can't have one more.
Do you know that, this is true, a guy called me in the morning, and he'd flown in from Montreal with 9 friends, and he hadn't bought a ticket.
What are you thinking?
And I'm like, what are you doing? Luckily for him, he called super early in the morning, and there was 1 table left. They're all the normal seats, and I said, well, if you want it, it's a ringside table, so
Pull out your
it's
wallet.
the most expensive that you can get in there. I'm sorry, but it's the only one. Like, with all due respect, why did you fly from Montreal?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
he bought the table, and he came to the fight.
Perfect.
So he had a great night, actually.
I bet.
It worked out for him, but for the other people, sorry, try and get it in advance. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, next time, don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
April 20th, get on
I
it.
know that it's quite chill here, right? And I remember I told you before in 2019 when we did our first show,
Yep.
we sold a bundle of tickets for the first show, and we had about 1,000, 1,200 people. And I'm pretty happy with that. And then the team at the time were like, oh, there'll be more coming on the door. I was in my head, 30, 40 would turn up.
Right.
48 hours before, it was like 600, 700 more people. I was like, what the hell?
Yep.
And I just heard about, this is just the vibe here, right? That people were very last minute.
Yep.
Check on the weather maybe.
Right.
See how that is. See if it's actually going to happen.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then, all right, we'll come.
Yeah.
You know?
The day of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully that mindset for my events anyway is changing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Wow. All right, man. Well, so, and I think it was on the 1st. Did you, no, we'll talk about that in a sec. When did you announce that the next show is April 20th? Was that around Christmas or so?
Yeah, around Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
So we always had a date sort of preliminary booked. We always wanted to do some shows. Usually we do 3 shows, as you know, but I'm only going to be doing April and November because Ontario is going to have 2 shows this year.
Right, right.
Actual Muay Thai World Cup shows. Originally it was going to be January.
Right.
They're going to be moving that to March. We're going to get a date hopefully next
Any
week.
particular reason why that happened that you can get into?
What, for the Ontario?
Yeah.
Oh, right. So quite simple, really. So they're going on to reserve.
Yeah.
Like we have Sutina.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Sutina.
Yeah. And I called up Michael and said, look, even though we've announced this in November, like, I think we need 4 or 5 months of advertising, right, to push this. I know we've already announced Tim Lowe and his bout.
Yep.
But we need some more time. So he's trying to hopefully do it for March, but I still think June would be a better time for him.
Sure.
Because this isn't like an amateur show.
Right.
The outgoings are a hell of a lot higher. The stakes are a lot higher. It's got to be a certain level of production. It's got to look good and reflect good on everyone.
That's it. Good call.
So we've got to make sure it's done right. And if it's the first one especially, that needs to be done right. As we know in Ontario, we've talked about it before, previous podcasts, there are... it's just a different country completely.
It is, man.
Yeah, and commissions, the gyms, the people are very different to Albertans.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is when you go there is, you can never go, well, in Alberta we do this, because it goes out the window.
That's right.
Okay, we're in Ontario, so how do you do it?
Right.
And understand this is what I would like to do.
Nice,
and this is for the good of everyone. And I think at first people were like, I don't think you can do it. Shut you down. And I'm like, why? So as you know,
sounds right.
I'll always find ways round.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So building communities, we've talked about it.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be Muay Thai World Cup. It can be other shows.
Right.
It's not just about my show and that. I want more shows, you know? So
I think people have that preconceived sort of notion in their mind already, because that's sort of like how business feels, right? Like, it's mine. You know, boxing is like UFC.
Do you know what, actually?
You know,
I got described once about North America, so we include USA in Canada and into Europe, about gym owners. Okay, so gym owners traditionally in North America, if you go back to the 80s, 70s, 80s, were from a karate. They were dojos, right? You must never leave the dojo.
That's right.
You know, and there's still some of the original coaches that switched into Muay Thai have that mentality. In Europe, it's boxing, right? Different people, again. As well, boxers always had like, oh, we got some other guy coming in, we're going to do some sparring with this guy, you know?
Okay.
So the mentality then was the people who owned the gyms were boxers, then switched into Muay Thai. Right?
Oh, okay,
so if you go to the UK, you still have them. People are like, oh, you can't go to other gyms.
Right.
But they're way more open about, oh, yeah, come to this gym and do some open.
I see that.
Right, you see? But in North America, even though the old guard is changing and people are evolving now, we're starting to see people going to other gyms for sparring. And, you know, people are getting way more sort of relaxed with that. Yeah?
Well, I think that, of course, with the help of many others, but what you've created around here, or helped create, is a thing where it used to be my gym versus your gym, but now it's like, well, shit, those guys over there do. So now then it becomes Calgary versus Edmonton, and then it becomes Alberta versus, then it's Canada, right?
Yeah.
You can see it's starting to become like pockets. Yeah, okay, maybe it starts gym versus gym, and then city versus, you know, you come together as a city, you come together as a province, you come together as a country.
Yeah.
So you can see that evolving here.
Yeah, of course. And don't get me wrong, right? You're always going to have the passion for your fight to wanting to win.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
However, you've got to shake hands afterwards. That's
right.
no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on now. Like, you know?
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, after, you know, I'm 6 foot in the ground, it's always going to be the same. You're always going to have some rivalry, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes other incidents get involved in that. But the business side of it should be very much, it's starting to more relaxed. And if you look in the 70s and 80s, even early 90s, people are starting to change their minds a little bit more, right?
Yeah, agreed. Well, from my point of view, I don't know if it's weird to say to you, but I'll just say from my point of view, someone who's been in the industry 30 years, been around in Alberta, blah, blah, blah. It's simple. If you want to keep the old mentality, you're going to get left out.
Yep.
You know, on your own doing, right?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like, it's shooting yourself in the foot. But anyway, back to April 20th. Next fight card here. How did this come about? So another one championship 4-man. How did that come about? Like, I'm going to be honest. After the whole 3 8-man tournaments, I was like,
What's next?
Where do you go from
I know,
here?
I
right?
actually did think this. I was like, well,
no, yeah.
damn it.
God
damn it. But the thing
Fight a
is
bear.
the 3 best divisions without fail got used, right? And it was an exciting tournament, so it was well worth every cent. Absolutely. What we have to do is accept about change, and the new fighters have to come through. Okay?
Right.
new fighters have to come through. We have to create new stars.
Yes.
So 135-pound division. Again, Ontario, who's your best?
Yeah.
Basil.
Yep.
BC, who's your best? Obviously, Tyler Nicholson.
Yep.
You know, he's had 2 great performances on Muay Thai World Cup. He deserves it.
Just won a WBC North American title.
Absolutely.
Mexico.
Yeah, and he's obviously a WBC
Damn, you killed the guy.
Champ as well.
Yep. Canadian.
In a division below when he could make that weight. The guy was dying at the weigh-ins, wasn't he? But yeah, he's much healthier now. And then you got Abdu, who's in outstanding form in June, if you remember.
Yeah.
Stopped in the first round.
Always in outstanding form.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Yeah, he's entertaining to watch.
Damn right.
Yeah. And then, of course, Sergi. Now, Sergi's like, if you think about it, when he fought Abdul, he was warming up, and then, of course, the eye poke.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But you look before that, he was actually winning a lot of fights.
Yep. Yep.
You know?
And his previous fights before that, I mean, he's hard, rock hard.
Yeah. You know? He's actually fought a lot of times in his hometown, too, before Calgary and things like that.
Where's that?
Is it Nepal he's from? Mongolia.
Mongolia. Thanks.
There you go. Outside source. She's on the laptop. No, you like Joe Rogan.
That's right.
Put it up on the screen.
Pull that shit up, Jamie.
Yeah, Mongolia. So, like, he had fights there too, and around those provinces too.
Okay.
So he's quite experienced,
Huh,
right?
cool.
And I've always said, people from these sort of countries, they have that hard DNA, right?
Damn right.
They won't fold.
That's it.
They won't go over easy.
Yep.
So that's another guy in the mix. It could be a dark horse himself.
Good call. Yep, I agree. Yeah, it's a great tournament all in all.
I think it's a good tournament. And then we made it a 4-man instead of, like, you know, qualifying to. And then, of course, the added mix now is it isn't the contract, the $100,000 US contract. This is, you go to, we talked about it before, there's a dividing one. So you have the one Friday, Lumpini.
One Friday fights.
And even sometimes they'll put some of the contracted fighters in there. Right. But this is, you're in there, this is your chance to shine.
Your audition.
Yeah, this is your audition. Sometimes take 2 or 3 auditions.
Sure.
In fact, Zach Sen, I think it was 4 fights that he got
Amazing,
contract.
right.
If I'm right, Nico Carrillo had 2 fights in there before he got a contract. I'm sure of that. You know, so that's like its own sort of ode to one, but without set dates.
Yeah, good call.
So one of those guys will go to all expensive paid trip to Lumpini, get looked after on behalf of One Championship, fight under the lights of Lumpini Stadium.
Damn.
And it's their real chance.
There you go.
So that's a golden opportunity in my eyes.
First audition starts April 20th.
Yes.
Dang.
Yeah.
So you're off camera, but don't worry.
She's on the card too.
Are you?
She doesn't know who she's fighting, and it really annoys her.
Nice. All right.
Well, she's going to the amazing Muay Thai Festival.
That's right. That's right.
And so's, well, in fact, there's about 10 Canadians going now, which is cool.
That's about 3 weeks away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So it's pretty cool. So just concentrate on that, really, because that seems to really took momentum over the last couple of weeks.
Sure has.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I legit was going to go, but it was suggested by my insurance company that maybe I don't go anywhere yet.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they're doing like on the first, so the opening ceremonies, One Championship apparently outside Lumpini, they haven't used it yet. I'm not sure why, but they've got some AI screens, right? So what you do is, as a fighter, you come out, have all your national anthems, and you know some be Thai dancing, and there'll be some demonstrations. There's some Muay Thai legends there.
Nice.
There's some One Championship fighters are going to be there too for meet and greet. Then they're doing this AI, which is basically you'll go to it and say, right, what division am I in? What time am I starting? Woof, and it'll come up on the screens.
No way.
Pretty cool, eh? Yeah,
Lucky.
pretty cool. So it's organised through the AI, right?
Wow.
So, right, you're fighting on the 3rd. It's predicted you're fighting at 2 p.m. Make sure you're here, and it come up with the screen, yeah.
Wild.
Nuts, eh?
Jeez.
Yeah.
No joke. How many are you taking over there?
There's 10. I think there's 10 now going, if I'm right, because Romel's taken a few.
Nice. Shout out to
And
Ramel.
Justin Etheridge over in Quebec has taken a few too.
Yep.
There's a few from Calgary. It's about 10, 11, maybe 12 going now.
Was there a qualifier for this?
Yes, no.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you remember initially, we had there was Mexico.
Yeah. Okay.
They kept getting delayed, changed. Originally it was going to be in America, then it got changed.
Yeah.
We had a qualifier, if you remember. Dylan qualified for it. Sahez actually won as well.
Right,
If you remember?
right. Yeah, I do.
It was at Vision Sport.
That's right. That's right.
And then we were just going to do a carryover because this is February event, we didn't have time to organise a qualifier for it.
Right.
So, being honest with you, yeah, the truth of the matter is that side of amateur, which is totally different to the prospect series as such, or the events that you see around town, that really needs to be worked on throughout Canada. That's when people need to start joining together a little bit.
Yeah.
When the dream would be provincials before nationals, right?
Right, right.
That'd be the absolute key, because sometimes when you host the nationals in Calgary, a lot of people won't fly over.
That's right.
If you held it in Ontario and it was a little bit more lax on the law there, I think you'd have a big turnout for it now.
Yeah.
But like I said, WBC are chipping away. Everyone's starting to realise what it is now. I think it's amazing Muay Thai Festival, even though they've done Italy before, obviously did Calgary with the juniors.
That's right.
Obviously had Mexico.
Yeah.
They actually had one in Hua Hin as well, like a smaller, amazing Muay Thai festival.
Oh, yeah.
Those sort of tournaments are not an overnight thing.
Right.
It takes years and years and years and years to get the word out, right? To get people there. So I think this one they have 650 fighters competing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then what you're going to see is the next one will be 750.
Right.
Within 5 years, the target always was with WBC 5 to 7 years. Let's get to 1,000.
Okay.
And then, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how it will go. And then you will see from that, when that really gets big coverage and it's like a year goal, you will then start to see provincials to nationals.
Right.
Yeah, and in England, you will see the areas in England, the regions, and then, of course, they'll have their national to qualify for it.
I got
It's not there yet. It's getting there.
They seem to be the most, like, on that path, or the closest to that path, no? Like, UK just A-class this, like, just seems very organized.
UK's always had a lot of fighters.
Yeah.
We've got to remember the size of the country, too, compared to Alberta.
Right, right.
Just Alberta alone, I think, can fit in 2 Englands. Like, it's insane. We've got to remember that.
For real?
Something like that. It's a crazy stat, right?
Holy shit.
So, and then he's got 85 million people there.
Right.
Right? So we've got to remember all those stats, right? So if you do, I'll do an example. That the white-collar boxing, right, over there, and they have 550 shows a year, right? They will have, I'll do an example of the scale. They will have, in Calgary, so in London, they will have, on the same night, they will have 5 events.
Okay.
On the same night in the same city. But you drive 10 minutes, it's like a different part of the city completely with different dynamic, different population.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they can, so it'd be like Cochrane,
right?
Airdrie would have the same night, they would have the same event on, be just as full, just as many fighters.
Really, man?
On
That's
the same
wild,
night.
hey?
It makes no difference.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, we have to understand all these things, right? So you're talking Canada has half the population of England.
Yeah.
And some, with a country that's outrageously big.
Yep.
And if you fly from Calgary to Toronto, $700, $800.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So there's also that side of thing, the expense side of things.
Yep.
So if you're in the UK, you can just drive down from Leeds to London, you know?
Like, how long does that take? I got no idea.
About 4 hours. 5 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, but you just boom, boom. So,
right.
you know, you leave the night before, booking a hotel is cheap.
Right.
So we've got to remember all these sort of parts are the reason why England is how it is, right?
Huh.
So it is a,
Come on in.
another one's walked in. It is but it generally is, it's a fighting country too.
It is,
Ireland people, don't forget. So people in islands, they defend, don't they?
Right.
So it's in the
That's
DNA,
true.
right?
Good call.
Been attacked by the Normans, the Vikings, the Romans,
right,
over the generations, right?
Yeah.
Nazis.
That's right.
Right, you get it? So, yeah.
Well, there you go. Fighting islands.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And throw in some pints and a few pubs.
And now you're really fighting.
Yeah. I'm just throwing football too.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah.
It tops it off.
Yeah.
What can you any fun and info you can give us on the 20th?
Well, you've missed a big point of the Champions League.
Oh, we're getting into that. Don't get me
okay.
wrong. Is that tied into the April 20th?
Yep.
Then let's get to it. So you announced January 1st, Champions League. I see Australia. I see Muay Thai World Cup. I see Hitman Fight League. I don't know where the hell to start. How about you break it down for us? How did this come about? It went viral real quick. You saw all the sort of
Muay Thai Authority launched it.
Right, and everybody snagged onto it. Did you expect that kind of response? And what's this about? What's going on?
Because all those promotions have their own unique followers, so it makes perfect sense for marketing for all those guys, right?
Right.
But so I've been thinking for a long time. Funny that you brought it up earlier about what do we do next?
Right.
How do we make this exciting? How do we make this the next level? Right. So I'm just thinking, okay, we've got the 4-man road to 1. I need something else. It's something else special. Let's put some WBC title fights. Got Kate Clements, of course.
That's right.
Duval fighting Jay Davis.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So some good fights there. But now I need something that really, like, is not just, like, Canada will watch, but the world can watch.
Right.
I think the world, that final, the world got the story from March, June, and then really start to tune in because our pay-per-views had viewing figures all over.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So this one, I was like, how can we retain that? How can we make this exciting?
Right.
So I was like, initially, like Muay Thai World Cup's plan was to bring in other countries, make a point system with the leagues. You know, you have like 3 weight classes, a female, 2 male, and each team is a country, and they go and get a point system, right? But it's quite complex and very difficult logistically and financially, very expensive risk, right?
Sure.
And if you're asking another promoter in Australia, for example, their outgoings are totally different to what Canadians would be.
Right.
You know, even crowds and all these sort of things, fan base. So what makes perfect sense here? All right? So the perfect sense is very, very simple, is let's get a qualifying tournament. Let's get each country has a quarterfinal in their own country, okay? Those winners, just one weight division, will qualify for a 4-man tournament, okay?
Okay.
So I was like, So all the promoters that you're seeing are friends of mine.
Okay, okay.
People I know.
Sure.
Can trust in the game, got good following, good marketing, good fights.
Right. Because
have links to Road to 1.
you're relying on others to be part of this just as heavily, right?
Yeah.
But by the way, before we continue on, ladies, I don't care at all if you're on camera. Like if you need to walk around or whatever, like feel free.
You can walk around.
I genuinely don't care. Feel free.
Gossiping away as per usual, them two. That's all they do. Gossip, gossip.
This is over in the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
So like we were saying there, so quite a few people who need to also be heavily involved in this. Now, I did have a question right before that. So was it kind of like a 4-man within a 4-man within a 4-man? No, you know what I mean?
So I mean, it's up to each country what they do.
Okay.
Right? But I need one guy for the 170-pound divisions to win. So I will fly them over. It's on Muay Thai World Cup final in November.
Okay.
Yeah. So there'll be
the final of this thing is in November here.
Oh yeah. So there'll be a guy from Australia, from America, and from UK fighting against a Canadian.
Okay.
In a 4-man.
Okay.
All right.
At 170, did you say?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now there is another announcement to make with that, but as per usual, I'm waiting for a couple of things to be signed off.
Damn it.
I'd love to tell you right now. In fact, that's actually why I delayed this podcast by 2 days, hoping I could give you that news.
Yeah.
But no news yet, unfortunately.
Hey, how she goes, man.
However, I can tell you one of the fighters that's going to be in it.
Okay.
It's apparently he's my favourite.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So Michael Fitzpatrick will be in that tournament. I can't tell you who against yet.
Okay.
Right? I can't tell you who against yet, and I can't tell you exactly more than that in terms of. Okay, so the qualifying, there's going to be a final. We are going to throw a nice reward into that. The promotions themselves, which is Hitman League, which is Muay Thai League, and which is Warriors Cup.
Right.
They haven't even announced who their guys are.
Gotcha.
They've told me.
Okay, okay.
But we are waiting for this next part of the announcement so we can announce that.
I got you. Okay.
So hopefully, I mean, I might even check my phone soon. Because if I even get the announcement now, I could tell you right now, couldn't I? Yeah.
Breaking news.
Let me just see.
Yeah, while you're doing your thing.
Nope.
So
No
while you were mentioning that every qualifying, Muay Thai League, Hitman Fight League, they can decide how they want. Are we doing a tournament here in Canada?
No, just Michael Fitzpatrick is going to fight someone else. That's a single super fight.
Gotcha.
And they will qualify. So the winner of that will qualify technically for a 4-man, but it will technically qualify for a semi-final.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Which is their own 4-man.
Gotcha. Nice. But you can't give us any more on that, hey?
I wish I could.
How long has this been in the books? How long have you been trying to...
Well, I mean, I made the call about a week or 2 weeks before Christmas. And I was like, right, let's get these... I individually called every promoter. What do you think of this idea?
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you said a week before Christmas?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, okay, it's 2004. I'm in the basement, but just fresh.
No, and then when I decide things like this, it's got to happen.
Sure.
Right, and because you wait on it too long, it's just going to fizzle out, right?
So
keep it exciting.
Right? Yep.
I know that promoters involved, all the promoters involved, they've got their own sort of way of marketing, but they love shit like this. Like they understand, they've been in the game a long time. They want to evolve and grow themselves.
Nice.
And without going too stale. Look, it's great to put fights on. You know, great to put domestic fights on. But where does this end? What's the next stage? Right? People want that. When's dangling the carrot? How does this lead? As a fighter, you want to, hey, what's my end goal here? Where could I go from here?
Right. Yeah.
So this is like, oh, you win this, you get to go to Canada. You're fighting a 4-man.
Right.
So, it's dangling a carrot to a lot of people. Right. And those 3 promoters I just talked about, apparently they've been inundated with fighters that want to go into this.
Is that right?
Yeah, but they've got to obviously compete.
Sure.
So.
And you know what's funny? A friend of the show, no big deal, Kieran Walsh from Australia.
Yeah.
He said something similar too. Like, you know, we fight Thais and those people all the time, man. We want to go to Canada and fight. Like, we want to, you know, like for us, it's always the Thais. But it's like, man, we're right there. Like we go to Thailand back and forth. Like, we want to go and travel and fight you guys and see the world.
Well, it's proven now though that these Thais are getting beaten.
That's right.
Or beatable.
That's right.
Now, right? I know it's obviously the little gloves have made a complete difference.
Sure.
But that's the truth.
Yes.
Right? And why not decide outside of Thailand?
Yeah.
Some big fights, some massive fights to make.
That's right.
Outside of Thailand, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And great domestic fights as well, still to make. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, even that 4-man that we're doing is
awesome.
Technically all domestics. Well, they are domestic, what we're talking about. But, you know, that really will decide who's the best in that division.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and beyond the people just competing in the sort of highlight spots, like, I guess as a fight fan, so, like, sometimes you let me in on some of this stuff early, but sometimes you don't. And I find out when everybody else does. And you kind of maybe sometimes have this feeling like, fuck, what's coming next? Like, what's next?
Well, that's what I like to do as well, right? So you've got to, what it is, with a lot of, I look at, like, what other promoters are doing and see what they're doing with marketing, and I'll always like, that's a great idea. Let's think about doing this. And add your own twist to it as you do. Yeah. Sometimes I think some people will give you too much information.
Yeah, good call.
So that qualifier that had quite a lot of information on it, but just enough to tease you.
Right.
Oh, I need to know more. Can't tell you.
That's it.
You have to wait, right?
Like today.
And a lot of the time we got to wait, see?
Right.
So, and then we are in the game of contracts too.
Sure.
So signing stuff. And then, of course, you had a lawyer in. That takes another 3 days. And, of course, the lawyer, $300 an hour.
Yeah.
You know,
he's going to take an extra 3 days.
That's correct. A phone call. That's right. Charge me for a phone call.
Of course.
So you get the point, right?
Yeah,
so.
yeah, definitely. And that's huge. And was it as simple as calling these other promoters and they were just like, yeah, sweet, let's do it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, like
all similar-minded, probably.
There is that other thing of having a relationship for a long time with these guys too.
Right.
And knowing them for a long time to say, if I say something, I'm serious, I've got the proof in the pudding of what I've done. You've got your proof. You've all, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, and at the end of the day, if you think about it like this, each promoter will put together fighters from their own country.
Right.
I'm actually the one hosting the finals. I'll be the one bringing them over.
Right.
So the expense is on me.
Right.
2025, though, I want to make this into a little bit more exciting. I want to get eight promotions around the world.
8.
Right? And now we've got 8 winners for an 8-man tournament.
Right.
You see? See what happens from there, though. You see, you create character development.
Yeah. Yes.
Each winner will be highlighted. They'll have their own video. They'll have their own social media. They'll show the training videos. We'll get to learn them as characters.
Right.
And at the end of the year, they have a nice 8-man tournament, good prize money, potential like opportunities from that. Right.
Yep.
So that's the goal. Eh? I mean, we talked about that crazy glory tournament at 16.
Yep.
Just imagine the 8-mans and how exciting they were. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No kidding. And you know, like, I'm not knocking nobody. It's clear I'm a massive one championship fan, but I feel like that's a place where maybe they slightly lack is it's the character development. It's sometimes and I watch every Friday. So coming from a guy who's religious about it, like sometimes it's hard to follow the game plan of what's next because there's just we're just going to bring in that guy to fight Rodtang, and we've never seen him before, and like, it's fine, but it's hard to.
I think that changed when they did regular shows.
Yeah.
So when they did every Friday, it was just get the fights rolling out for the first year. So they've done that for 12 months now.
That makes sense.
I think now
that's so many fights, so many fighters.
So they're starting to build Nico up.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Then John will fight Lobo as he's coming up.
Right.
I'm pretty sure John's going to win that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Lobo's dangerous, but you know.
Definitely is.
And then you've got these nice stories. I think they're going to start doing that, right?
Nice.
But I think they're again. I'm just guessing.
I hear you.
Is when they launched Lumpini, they had to concentrate on making fights happen every Friday.
Yeah, I
now
guess.
They're in a role. Yeah, they've added some extra matchmakers to that. Now they're in a role. I think they're going, okay, we have the super shows. We have Japan.
Right.
Takaru and Super Leg.
Right.
We have Colorado coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to love it. If Nico and Jonathan fought in England, I think me and you would get on a plane, wouldn't we?
Let's go.
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic if it happens. But you get the point here. I think now they've got everyone on their side.
Yeah.
That whole 12 months of doing the Friday fight nights has really paid off.
Yeah.
I think now they're going into different countries. I think now we're going to start seeing character development.
Well, and I would like to apologize for my ignorance. You just like, hey man, I just get up and I have my coffee and I watch fights. That's every Friday. You got to come up with fighters. They got to be on weight. They can't be injured. Yeah. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah,
I suppose.
They do have. I mean, it's in Thailand, right? So you don't have some of the rules that you would have in a commission,
right?
In North America,
right?
For example, so they do have that ease. But however, you got to produce the goods
every week.
Every week.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So it's Rob Cox, who's obviously
shout out to Rob Cox.
Council back in the day. That's when I met him, 20 years ago. He's part of that matchmaking. So it's Timo.
Oh, yeah.
He runs a cycle Muay Thai. He's one of the matchmakers. There's another matchmaker. I'm not too sure who that is, though. So they do a wonderful job there.
Nice.
I mean, haven't they done a wonderful job? Look at that. Look at the cards they put together.
Damn right.
Amazing.
Yep. It's my opinion, and my opinion is worth less than 2 cents, that if Haggerty and Carrillo doesn't happen in the UK, one has seriously dropped the ball. That's my opinion. It has to happen there.
Yeah,
it has to.
What we got to remember is the absolute truth behind it is when you promote and you know the arena, you know the crowd, you know it's going to fill with several thousand fans, and then you're trying somewhere new, right? It's a risk.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Don't think even like other companies like UFC don't try this, right? It's a risk. In fact, when UFC first came to London, they actually bombed. It didn't do too well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it took them a long time for them to come back, right? Yes. And then, of course, Bisping came through, right? And then, okay, we've got Bisping. Let's use it, Bisping, as a character. And then we'll start developing other little
Darren
fights
Till
coming through. Darren Tills, Brad Pickett.
Yeah.
There was a few others too.
Yeah.
But you see now they've got Leon Edwards.
Yep.
And they've got Paddy Pimlay.
Yeah.
Right, so they might... So they
Aspinall,
yeah. Yep. Aspinall, yeah. Yep. So you got these guys now you can develop in. But again, they weren't in UK for a long time. They did little bits of shows here and there. They did okay, but now they're, all right, we've got some good English fighters now. So my whole point being is, although Nico and John would be an amazing fight, is they do have to look at it and say, okay, who else have we got to put on the card?
Sure.
Who else could really draw the attention? And can we fill a stadium of 10,000 people? Now, what people are thinking, the fans on social media, I'm one of them, will be, yep, we can fill 10,000.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I know, but the truth of the matter is, I've always said this, you have a guy that's on social media, he has 500,000 followers. It's not 500,000 people turning up to watch him fight.
Right.
That's not.
Right.
Right? They've got to go in an arena. When you go to a different country, the expenses are different. The rules are different. Right? The restrictions are different. All these different things get involved in it. Then you have to market and advertise. You can't just do that fight in Wembley Arena, which is 12,000 people, I think. You can't just do it, right? And expect, build it and they will come. They will have to spend a crazy amount of money, right? Advertising around London, especially, and on Sky Sports with their advertising to fill that arena. Yeah? And you have the other things where, can people afford the ticket prices? Because they have to charge a quite expensive ticket
Yeah.
to make that fight happen.
Yeah.
Is there all the production going on? In Lumpini Stadium, you don't have to do any of that. You know, every Friday, it's going to be busy.
Routine.
They know what the costs are. You see, this is a...
Everyone knows their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that they have to look at these stats. This is just from a promoter's point of view.
Oh, hell yeah, man. That's why you're on here.
That'd be everybody's dream, right?
Sure.
Could it fill a 12,000-seat arena? Yes, it could. But will they have to spend a shit ton on marketing? Absolutely. Right? We're not talking a couple of $1,000s. Like, you know, a lot of money. I know UFC...
Almost like it's not worth it, possibly?
Well, UFC, for example, they spend £1 million, $1.7 million, on just marketing alone, just for an O2 Arena fight.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's a lot of money. Shit. It's a lot of risk.
Yeah. I didn't realize
I'm not saying that they do the same amount of advertising.
Sure.
But Sky Sports will have to really push it months in advance. This is happening at this place, right? Months in advance. Then you'd have to see it on the taxis in around London. Because what you and I are, we are martial arts and fight fans, okay? We're actually a minority.
Okay.
Right? So the average person, which is 80% of the people that we actually don't even speak to, right? They don't know what one championship is.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, we got another guest. Who is it?
We've got another guest.
Come on in.
That don't know
You're right.
They know Conor McGregor. I'll give them that.
Right.
So
it's usually when I'm talking
to it for him, because he might want to do a test. Can you pause it?
Yeah,
Jason?
sure. Yeah,
Good,
give us
pause
a sec
it and we'll
here.
come back in.
All right. Real working ass business, real working ass gym. Things got to get done.
Yep.
So you were just explaining that we're the weird ones, right?
We are.
Yeah, I agree.
Most you go outside now, people won't know. People might know Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were fight, but they couldn't tell you who he fought.
Right.
That's his. But the guys that we've mentioned, no one knows who they are.
Yeah.
Right? Because in our circle and the algorithm of social media, we think they're megastars. Right? The truth is, someone like Andy Sauer, Ernesto Hoost, all these guys, Butter Hurry, to us, they're mega famous.
Superstars.
Like, oh, yeah, they're like idols or superstars. They're not.
Yeah.
But that's the truth.
Yeah.
In the martial arts world, they are.
Yeah.
Right? And in that circle, they are. But the martial arts world is pretty small, actually.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes, it is.
Boxing world is massive. Right? But even there, like, you know, you go outside, Canelo probably pound for pound at the moment, or Terence Crawford. You go outside and ask an average person, which is the high percentage, who's Terence Crawford? They go, who?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They'll know Canelo. They won't. Probably.
No,
they definitely won't know Crawford. You're probably right.
I'm telling you, they wouldn't.
I'm that much of a nerd, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, you know.
I hear you. Yeah.
So we have to understand that. So as a promoter, I already know I got you in already. You're in.
Yeah.
You're going to be at every show.
I'll pay double.
Right? Yeah. I don't have to worry about you.
Yeah.
I just put it up, and you're there. Right.
Yeah.
And now I have to try and attract the people that don't know what this is.
Right.
That's my promoter. That's my promotion hat. How do I get those people to come?
Right.
Because I know when I did a show in March to qualifiers, I had a few people that had never been to a show before, right? And that's my hardest sell, is to get people to walk through the door. Once I've got them in that door and they're watching the show, they'll be at every show.
Yeah.
I've seen it now, right? And then from our shows from 3 years ago, some of the same crowd that were never fight fans before, they were Joe Ordinaries, and now they're a fight fan.
That's right.
They love
That's
it.
right. Yeah.
Right, they come to, and that's why I give the dates way in advance, right?
And shout out to one of those sponsors, matter of fact, hopefully it helps, Fountain Tire.
Yep.
I talked to those guys, I think it was at the quarterfinals, and they're like, we just got some free tickets, we had no idea. And they're like, we can't wait to come back. And now I literally talk to those guys at every show. Oh, man, we couldn't wait for the show to go.
So their boss, actually, so what their boss did is sponsored one of the shows.
Yeah, okay.
Right, and they bought a table.
Yeah.
Right? And they were like, oh, I'm not too sure, not too sure,
Yeah.
not too sure, right? Yeah, like I told you, people don't know what Muay Thai is.
Right.
Right? And we're like, duh, it's, you know, yeah.
Signs of 8 limbs, man.
You don't
How
know
do you
who
not know?
Sanchai is? Like, people don't.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
He's got 1 million followers. There's 8 billion people in the world.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
like,
I couldn't name you one famous violin player.
right, there you go, right? So anyway, then after, literally, just before
Violinist?
the tournament, the guy from Fountain Tire with quite a few drinks, he turned around and went, I see you doing a show in November. I said, yeah. He went, Christmas party.
Oh,
So
yeah.
He then bought 3 tables
Is that right?
Yeah, as a Christmas party.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Great Christmas party.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important conversation, man. Like that's just not really info or like I never even thought about it.
Yet, is
right?
it for you?
Well, I mean, just like well, why aren't they fighting in the UK? The one championship. Don't drop the ball, you idiot. I literally just said that 10 minutes ago, and you explained why, and I just don't think people realize, including myself.
No, I've actually put it on several comments to people back in England who are friends of mine or ex-student stuff. Oh, this would sell 50,000 at Wembley. This would sell out the O2 Arena. I was like,
huh.
It takes time to do that.
Right.
Right?
Oh, yeah, that was a question
time to do that.
I had too. So I did see on Instagram somebody wrote something like it has to happen in the UK. I know everyone's saying that.
Yeah.
And maybe they tagged you or you just happened to say, I think it should happen. However, like you just broke down.
Yeah.
Is there any way you help with that?
I mean, it's a good question. At the end of the day, it's about what they've got for marketing budget.
Right.
All right, one. It's two, the fighters, coaches, every person follows both their fighters. Every gym member, right, has to go to that fight. They have to share it. They have to talk about it. They have to call up their local newspaper. They have to call up any friend they have in any power position to watch it on Sky Sports or attend the show to make that happen.
Like we talked about the fighters audition to one, this would be the UK's audition to have one stay there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I got you.
And again, it would be a super fight. It would be exciting. It'd be amazing. It'd be great to sit and watch that fight. Absolutely.
All right. Would you want to be involved?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Here we go then. Off the top of your head, real quick. It doesn't have to. I know we're getting out of time here.
Okay.
Who would you put on? Kieran, you're the matchmaker. The budget is $40 bajillion dollars. Who's on the fight card in the UK? It's going down. It's happening.
Well, obviously Haggerty and Nico.
Sure.
Harrison and Saxen, which I hear is made and happening soon. I hear this. Yeah. It's happening. Harrison's called him out. It's a perfect fight for both guys.
Agreed.
You know, they're in, I think Harrison's 38.
Yeah.
Saxen's 35, 36.
Yeah.
What a fight that will be.
Agreed.
Fantastic.
Agreed.
And
do you have a winner?
Oh, I'm going to go with Liam because Saxen's, don't get me wrong, it's been amazing.
Yep.
The last year was ridiculous. For me, he's fighter of the year.
Okay.
In one championship.
Nice. Yeah.
Right? Outside of that, I'd say Chad Collins.
Okay, good call.
Yeah, amazing, that guy.
Nice.
Right? What some of them wins.
Yeah.
But the point being is with Saxen, although he hasn't fought the top tier guys. He has fought some great guys. Everyone that's been on one is amazing, but they're not a world elite level.
Yep.
And I think Liam, first round, has the ability to hurt Saxen more than the other guys have.
Good call.
You saw that he fought Nathan Benden last year. Nathan hit him with a hook to the body and he took all the wind out. Amazing that he came back. The heart that guy.
Agreed. I thought it was
insane.
over. Yep.
But Liam hits harder, and I think if Liam hit that shot to the body with his lead hook, I think it might be a different story. However, we can't write off Saxen either.
That's it.
Because you think you've got him, and either you take your foot off the gas, and then all of a sudden he's just on you.
Tidal wave.
Yeah, it's a bit. Sometimes it's a bit horrible. He just jumps in, he puts his hand out, and he keeps his hand out and pushes you back, and you're like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
You know? And then the crowd always get behind him, right? And he thrives off that.
And you think that, like I wonder if a lot of these guys, before we get into your matchmaking here, if, like, they accept that, like, hey, you get matched up against Saxen, like, oh, shit, here we go. We're going in a washing machine. Yeah. You know, like, you almost...
If you're a fighter, you should, anyway. You should say, yep.
Yeah, of course.
When you get to one, you should literally be... I'm fighting whoever they give me.
All comers, yeah.
Right.
No tune-up fights. Yeah.
Well, I mean...
Well, you shouldn't have that attitude,
I mean, you shouldn't... Your first fight shouldn't be like Tawachai.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
You still should... But everyone in that is high level, right? So,
right. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Right before the end here, so your fighter of the year, that was perfect. Inside, outside, one championship.
Yeah.
Do you have a fight of the year off the top of your head?
Ooh, that's a good one. Off the top of my head... I mean, not being like sort of like looking at my own promotion, but I mean, some of the fights that those guys were insane over the one championship road too.
Yeah,
if that
Jake
was
and
on
Abdu.
one championship,
Tyson and Cody.
Yeah, Nick Cron and Jake was nuts fight. That was an absolute nuts fight.
Yeah,
you know, of the courage of Nick, and then the skills of Jake.
Yeah.
And how he didn't put him away, I'll never know.
No.
And the guy got up.
Crazy.
You got that. That was an insane fight. Rod Tang super leg.
Yep.
That was an insane fight.
That's
it was,
my fight
wasn't it? It was a great fight.
Yep.
I think I really liked the fight between Alazov
and Superbon?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I know he obviously knocked him out.
Sure.
But the guy's so dynamic.
Yeah,
he's so
crazy.
dynamic. He's like a new kickboxer. So you had the K1 style back in the day, and now you got this guy come in.
Yeah.
Sort of evolved a bit, right?
That's
His
right.
footwork, he moves to the side, he throws angle punches, but it's beautiful to watch too. It's not
Snap
messy.
style kicks.
Yeah, it's not messy.
Yeah.
And you know, if you watch him when he fought Gregorian.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, good fight, of course. Gregorian always brings it.
Yep.
But his angle work, his footwork, how he lands great punches.
Yep.
You know, doesn't miss much, does he?
No.
You know?
That crazy karate style, lead leggy
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
Great fighter.
It's good to watch.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Give us a person of the podcast. You get shout out one person.
Sahez, there she is.
Sahez hanging out
I'm only
patiently
joking.
over
No,
there.
I'm serious. Yeah, no, she trains hard, and obviously she's going to Amazing Muay Thai Festival with Nicole and Dylan. They're both going to be there too.
Nice.
So, good luck to all of them.
Beauty.
Yeah.
All right, man. Anything else before we're out of here?
No, I think we've covered it. April 20th, of course, we've got the domestic fight here. Actually, the City of Calgary fight between Jay Davis and Duval. That should be
That's
interesting,
right.
I think.
Yep.
Jay's been over in Thailand, had a few fights.
Yep.
Duval's obviously cleaned up the last few fights in Muay Thai World Cup, let's be honest.
Getting stronger.
Getting stronger, getting better, improving.
Yep.
And then, of course, Kate Clements is back. It's nice to see her back
bet.
against Amber Berg.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Been to
should be
Calgary a
good.
few times.
Yeah.
Good fight.
Should
good
be
fight.
good.
All right, this place is getting wild. We'll get out of
Yeah.
here. Anything else
Again.
before we're out of here, sir?
No, we're good. Thank you very much, as
Awesome.
always.
Whenever that phone buzzes, make sure you let me know.
I will. I promise. You can add it as an extra.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
All right.